This is Let's Talk Business with your hosts, Marc Ebinger and Heather Boehme. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome to Let's Talk Business, a show that talks entrepreneurship with some of the best businesses in the San Antonio area. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk with Nef Torres, the founder and CEO of People First Employment, a full-service staffing provider that services the manufacturing, distribution, and call center industries. Nef, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Marc. Glad to be here.
You bring a lot of energy, man. I'm excited about this. I know you're a little nervous in the podcast studio, but you do have a lot of energy and a lot of passion for what you do, so this can be a great conversation.
Yeah, I definitely feel a little bit nervous, to be quite frank. This is my first time filming something like this or being a part of a podcast, so it kept me up all night, but I think
Really?
I'll be all right. Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
So you're running on artificial
Fine.
energy
Just
here.
artificial energy, yeah.
good.
We'll get into it.
We're also going to talk with Nicole Pulley, the owner of Interior Affairs, an interior design company that specializes in multifamily and commercial projects and has the only wallpaper showroom in San Antonio. One of two in Texas, if I'm not mistaken, or one of three?
One of three.
One of three
Yeah.
in Texas. So congratulations on that, and
Thanks
welcome
so
to the
much.
show.
Thank you.
Great.
Happy to be here.
In studio with us today is Heather Boehme, a certified business coach that works with business owners to gain clarity in business and achieve their goals, and who is my business coach. Heather, welcome back to the show.
Always happy to be here. Have good conversations.
And I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Crükus Marketing Agency, a company that specializes in giving small businesses a competitive edge by hiring lead generation and administrative experts from the Philippines for as little as $7 an hour. Great people. I've got about, 17 or 18 employees now over there, and it's amazing. There's great people to work with. A quick reminder for our listeners, you can catch video and podcast versions of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. And if you're a business owner in the San Antonio area and would like to have your company featured on the show, visit our website at satalkradio.com or call our office at 210-960-8210. That's 210-960-8210. Yes, I did that without reading my paper. I am a professional.
Just memorize now. Have you ever come across anyone who you ask them what their phone number is these days and they're like,
Yeah.
It's
they just
increasing.
don't know it anymore?
Yeah.
I just push the button that says Nef Torres and it calls him. I don't know
Yeah.
what
Just
his
send
number
you
is.
my
Anybody's phone
contact
number.
card, please.
Have you guys
Right.
seen the memes that where it's like how we used to call block somebody in the 80s? Child of the 80s, you guys are 90s.
80s, baby.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Cool. I don't want to date you, but you know what I
Before
mean.
that, but yeah.
As far as age goes, right? But yeah, the 80s were a great time. But I remember that too. We just take the phone off the hook and they couldn't bother us anymore.
Right. Now they have the QR codes where,
Yes.
those are really convenient, especially if you're out at an event. And I saw someone recently and I thought to myself, I got to get this thing done because it's a pain to carry your cards and, it's expensive too, right? Like you keep running through those business cards. So
The best one I've seen so far. So there's some guys over at was it Do Work or something like that? Great networking guys. Bitly has it's the only one that I have personally seen that works with the iPhone and the Android.
Nice.
Because every time somebody's like, oh, you just scan, I've got an iPhone, right? And they're very sensitive. But it's like, it won't work. The VR card thing does not work. So I don't know what the deal is. But if you're thinking about it, check out Bitly for sure.
Well, and especially
Definitely.
from a calling standpoint, if you're going to call someone, it's nice when your name and number and photo is just auto-saved in their
Right.
phone.
Right.
Because I know, like, when I was in real estate, I had to constantly call AT&T and get my phone taken off the spam caller
Oh,
list
yeah.
because I was just calling people all the time, and they were like, you are a scammer. I was like, no, I'm just a real estate agent. Just let me
just
call
looking for
my
work."
people. Like, good grief. So it's just nice to be able to already navigate that block by having your number saved. So
Love it.
we
Yeah.
are not sponsored.
Bitly, the future. Is that a plug?
The future is now.
The future is now. Invoice
that.
them.
I like that
Yeah.
too. I should trademark that, right?
Right.
I don't know. Okay, so first up on the show is Nef Torres, the founder and CEO of People First Employment, a full-service staffing provider that services the manufacturing, distribution, and call center industries. Nef, I'm excited to have you here. We met at a networking event and our networking lunch, and you've got great energy, super positive. So it's kind of a no-brainer to ask you to come on the show. And I love the idea of staffing. You do more staffing, like in-person staffing, you know what I mean, boots on the ground. I do it more on the virtual side, so we've got a lot in common.
Right.
So how did you get involved in the staffing world?
Well, truthfully, it was kind of a natural path for me. My sisters were both involved in recruitment at the time, and I had been doing sales and just kind of working at local restaurants and meeting a ton of people. And I saw the need that even that ownership had for consistent employees to be in their building. If not, their business just didn't function. So listening to my sisters come home from work and talk about their day and then being able to see that, from a functionality standpoint, I really felt like, oh, this is great. But I didn't think I was going to get into it. I was actually doing some banking. I was with Wells Fargo and Chase. And a good friend of mine said, hey, I really think you'd be good at this. And, I took a stab at it. I left everything that I was building over at Wells Fargo to come over and give this a shot. And I fell in love with the purpose behind staffing an organization, right? Not necessarily the organization that I had gone to work for, because, it becomes a mill in certain entry level points for a business, right? But when you really start to break down what it means to help an organization find great employees that move their business forward, you also have to look at the flip side and see what it does for that individual to be able to put food on their table. So my first experience in staffing really allowed for me to find passion in what I was doing. And I had tried a few different avenues, different work platforms, and I just didn't feel like that same level of passion. I could make money in it, right? Because I felt like I could sell anything, right? But in reality, I didn't feel like I was solving an issue that was near and dear to my heart, and staffing gave me that. So as soon as I came in, I had an immediate impact, some success, and followed with some adversity in my personal life, it was a career path that I never wanted to get away from. Even though life took me away from it, I just kind of hopped back into it, right? And so I'm here 16 years in, going on my 17th year now, wow. And I feel like I'm in a space where, my business is benefiting from, me staying in the pocket and learning everything that I can and trying to stay ahead of that learning curve that is our ever-changing world within staffing, right? So,
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love that you found your passion. You never work a day if you love what you do or whatever, which sometimes that's not quite true.
Right.
But one of the first things you said was consistent staffing. And if we want to just jump into the meat and potatoes of like everyone's biggest question is, you're a staffing company. One of the biggest problems we hear nowadays is I cannot get people to show up. What do you do to mitigate that?
Right. Well, there are many different levels to that question, right? Because an organization that says, for every organization that says that they can't find good staff and good employees, there's another organization that says we're doing just fine, mm-hmm. right? And so when you start to break down what each organization is doing, you begin to see some of the inconsistencies of those that are having trouble, right? Mm. And so whether that be from a cultural standpoint or an alignment with the market and pay, there are definitely some layers to why an organization might not be doing well. And I think post-COVID, individuals are looking for something different. It's got to be a deeper meaning. If I'm going to leave my family for 40 hours a week and I'm going to go work somewhere, there has to be purpose. There has to be growth outside of my monetary compensation. There has to be an intellectual compensation also, right? Because this may not be the last place I come to work. So organizations that are doing really well in this pocket right now, they're finding success in investing in their core group of associates and having that ecosystem feed all the new associates that are coming through that door. So they tend to see a better retention. They tend to see a happier workforce. Subcultures get built within that organization, and it becomes this real community, right? And so there's definitely room for improvement when an organization says, I just can't find staff. Well, I see a ton of people walk through my office every day looking for work. They're just looking for the right place to work, right? And so how do we create that?
So that's really incumbent upon employers to focus on creating an atmosphere within their organization that is positive and that is nurturing and it is intellectually challenging, allows them to grow in whatever path that they're looking to grow in. And then this subculture too, you know what I mean? We talked about this offline, where we talked about the creating a hub that is strong and that can resist, the virus, the bad employee that maybe works their way in, but they can't penetrate that core, and then they'll go on about their way, but that core stays tight.
That's exactly it.
I think having that buy-in to the mission of the company too. No longer are we in the days where employees are just fine with being a cog in the wheel, right? A cog in the wheel for $7.50 an hour, where they don't really know why they're doing it every day. They want to buy into something bigger too. We all went through COVID. We all went through, being at home with our families and having to reevaluate what our world looked like. So how can companies create that vision that everyone can buy into and give them a path to success? What would your take be on that? Because you come from it from the employee's perspective. How do you coach businesses to be the place that employees want to land?
Right. I would say it starts with senior leadership. If senior leadership is plugged into the mission and it's being talked about and it's being referenced on a daily, weekly basis, staff meetings, opportunities where you can really hone in on the purpose of the organization, then you'll begin to see that be an infectious energy amongst the organization, the production. You see numbers get better. You see people happier. You see less people calling in, right? And the ecosystem, as Marc was talking about, begins to protect itself. It creates an environment where someone who is not driven to see that mission through is just unable to really survive within that space, right? And individuals want to know that the organization that they're putting all this effort into has a future, right? Because everything, we see it all too often right now where organizations become obsolete. They're not making the proper advancements within their field or their vertical in order to survive the next 10 to 15 years. So as an individual, if I'm looking for work, I'm going to break down whether this type of work is going to be around the next 5 to 10 years, right? And so how do you get to a space where you're having that dialogue or you're creating different avenues within your operation in order to feed that next space that you're going to be breaking into? And that's hard to do. I mean, really, when I talk to my clients, there's some things that are going on within their workspace that they have no control over, right? Or that are difficult for them to pivot from because that's their bread and butter. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that it will be there in the next 5 to 10 years. And I hear this all the time. Well, we just don't have the time to invest in. And the minute that you say that to me, then it shows me that your long-term thinking isn't necessarily aligned with, what you're trying to accomplish in your objectives, right? Your objectives are nearsighted. And so it's definitely a dynamic that you begin to break down as you're really doing a temperature check on the organization, trying to find pain points and really identifying what their vision is for the next 5 to 10 years. Because another thing that organizations aren't really taking into account are that there are older generations that are moving out of the workforce. And you got your millennials, right, which I happen to be a part of. And then you have your Gen X or your Gen Z. Gen Z. And
wild.
Their wants and needs are different. A ton of value in that space, though. Yeah. A ton of value with those individuals because they grew up with technology in their hand, right? And so how can you create a space for them within your organization that not only fulfills you filling a seat and getting a task done, but really propels your business to that next stage, right? And so if I'm going to go into the future, I need minds of the future to be attached to that. So if I can really work to figure out what drives an individual, then now I can create a game plan around their success within a roadmap, right? Within their success within our organization. And so
super important to be able to lead.
Right.
So your leadership has to be able to then lead these particular pockets of generations that are coming through, keep them inspired to do the things that they need to do and to continue learning. Right. But let's talk about what is staffing. What are the advantages of using a staffing company like yours?
Mine in particular is you get me, right? I'm going to come in and break it down. I'm going to have a tough conversation with you around your deficiencies. And that might not be something you want to hear. So I'm not everyone's cup of tea. And I'm okay with that because I'm looking for the individual organizations that are ready to make that leap and ready to bridge that gap. And if you're not, then you and I are not really speaking the same language.
Well, the purpose
right?
of doing a discovery process like that, where you're looking for maybe inefficiencies or gaps in whatever's going on, is for the benefit of the company, right? It's not it's even if there is a tear down in the process, it's about building up. And sometimes you have to tear the sheetrock off the walls so that you can come up with something better, maybe some wallpaper. You know what I mean?
I like that.
Well, I
plug.
mean,
Yeah, that's good.
if the sheetrock's all messed up, it needs to come down. You need to have something else, right? Or if it's textured, it's not going to work with the wallpaper as well as if it's been taped, if it's been floated properly and it's prepared for it. So sometimes tear down's necessary. But when that's the mindset you're bringing to the table here, right? It's about let's analyze and then let's see what's wrong. We'll talk about what's wrong, and then we'll make sure that we can fill in those holes.
Right. And again, easier said than done, because when you start telling an organization about their deficiencies, not everyone's ready to listen, even though they went in with that intention, because it costs money to make those changes up front. And so everyone's worried about their P&L and what that bottom line says, but they don't see the advantages of making those changes today over the course of 5 years, 2 years, the next 6 months, right? And so, again, going back to that workforce that's kind of leaving, and retiring, and you got this new workforce coming in, it's best to be on the front end of that bandwagon, right? So making the change now, I think, is pivotal for organizations.
And that's a conversation I have on almost a daily basis with business owners. It's what are you doing to work on your business, not in your business. And we get so caught up in the right now. But as business owners, as entrepreneurs, that's not the job. The job is to be looking 5-10 years down the line and be asking ourselves, how is the market changing? How do I need to pivot? How do I need to shift? And having the hard conversations about what am I doing wrong so that I can fix it and leverage my time and energy to my staff so that I can focus on 5-10 years.
Right.
It's easier said than done.
Easier said than done.
Absolutely.
Like you're saying.
And like you, as you asked me, what are the benefits? There are several layers to what a staffing organization, a true partner, could do for, a prospective client. Right. Number one is we mitigate risk. So I manage all workers' comp and payroll. I float payroll, so I'm kind of like a bank also, right? Because I'm loaning you, this payroll for the next 2 to 3 weeks at a time, and so it really allows for a cash flow to be freed up. For the right organization, that could be crucial. And then in addition to that, we work as an extension of an HR function, right? So we're a resource, we're a value add, where we will do the dirty work and dive into any laws that may be changing around employment, and then get that back over to you and get you ahead of the curve so that you don't fall, victim to a change that you didn't see coming, right? But we also work as an extension of your recruitment team, right? Not a lot of organizations have the funding power to bring in a staff strictly to recruit for their next open role. So my team is doing that all day long. And if we do it correctly based on the standards and guidelines that our client gives us, then I'm able to really build a client profile and put 2-3 recruiters on open orders for my client, get those orders filled, and have them generating cash flow from those orders being filled, right? With the right individual. And that's the important part. A lot of agencies out there, they run their business like a mill because they're just looking for that bottom line, where we're a little bit more methodical in our approach. We're going to take our time. And I always tell my prospective clients, I say, listen, I'm like that new school technology mixed with the old school customer service and feel, right? I'm going to be in your business. I'm going to be in your business. We're going to make changes. We're going to adjust. And so as long as you're open to that, then I'm the right fit in this space, right? And so,
awesome. Yeah. Well, Nef, if folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Well, you can reach out to me. I'll give you my direct cell phone number here. I don't even know if that's a safe thing to do. Yeah, well,
you can always
I've
just
had it for
give your
years.
website or what's your office number.
Yeah.
That's typically what I'll do. Like me, I always give my office number out.
Well, I'll give my cell phone number out because it's easier to reach me there, and I have no problem answering calls that come my way. You can reach me at 562-774-5745. I know it's a California number. I am a transplant here in San Antonio, guys. But I've been here for close to, 9 months now. My office has been open for a little bit over a year. My family and I transplanted here when I just wanted to get my hands a little bit more around our operation. So I've been here for about 9 months now. And you can also reach me via email, nef.torres@peoplefirstemployment.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Nef. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
We went from talking staffing to talking just leadership. Heads up, business owners. That's where it is, right?
Yeah,
All right, next up on the show is Nicole Pulley, the owner of Interior Affairs, an interior design company that specializes in multifamily and commercial projects, and the only wallpaper showroom here in San Antonio, the only one you can find. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks so much.
All right, so I know that you are in interior design, but we really want to talk about that showroom that you opened. How long has it been here?
Well, we purchased the showroom about 2 years ago in the midst of COVID. I know, crazy, but there is a method to the madness.
You probably got a good deal on it, right? I'm
Well-
guessing during COVID. Everything was on sale, it seemed like.
Right.
And actually, it was a wallpaper store prior to us buying it. So it was there for 34 years, and the owners retired. Their son was running it, and I got a call one day asking if I wanted to purchase some wallpaper books. And I thought, I don't really have a need for 200 wallpaper books, but what's going on? Are they going out of business? She says, I don't know. So I called and talked to the owner's son, and he says, yeah, we're going to close. And I said, oh, no, you can't. Where are we going to buy wallpaper from? So I asked him, would you be open to selling? And he says, yeah, we would. So I went, met with his parents, and 2 years later, here we are. So
And what a great time to jump into wallpaper because it is everywhere these days.
it is back. It is really back. And I know that when I first talked about opening a wallpaper showroom, some of my friends were like, wallpaper? Like, who does wallpaper anymore? But it has evolved so much because a lot of times we think of wallpaper and we think of our grandmother's wallpaper with the little pink flowers. And I remember my parents bought their house way back in the early 70s, and they used to offer wallpaper in the dining room and in the master bath. And they had this flocked wallpaper, and I was just fascinated with this stuff. I'd be in there rubbing and get your hands off my wallpaper. But it's come so far, and now the flocked actually has come back around. But there's so many different trends in wallpaper now. So it's not just your plain standard. We've got LED wallpaper in the store.
Yeah,
which
let's talk about
incorporates- I wanna
LED
hear
wall.
about
First
that.
of all, there's only a couple places in Texas doing that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what's the deal there? What does that mean, LED wallpaper?
LED wallpaper is actually custom made from a company in the UK, and myself and one other company, I believe she's in the Fort Worth area, but we're the only two that carry it. So it basically incorporates LED lights, little small mini lights, into the actual wallpaper. So you pick your own background, you pick your own design, and depending on which design you pick, those lights are incorporated into it accordingly. So there's all kind of different styles and designs. It's great for a theater room. I'm sure you've probably seen where people do the black on the ceiling, what looks like stars at night. We have something similar to that too. And just wherever you want to put it, it's great for an accent area. It's good for a bedroom, just end of a hallway where it's blank.
But how does that work? How does
We
it?
can either hardwire it or you can plug it into a regular 110 outlet.
Okay, but how do you not end up with bubbles in your wallpaper?
There are no bubbles in it.
Right,
you have to
right.
actually see it. I should have brought the sample with me, but I
yeah, that'd
didn't.
be
So do you
Great.
come in through
But-
the sheetrock or
No.
what's the
It's
deal there?
actually the LED lights are actually on the back side of the wallpaper.
Oh,
so
it's
we-
a thick wallpaper then, I'm guessing?
Not really. It's not really
Those
too
lights
thick.
are really thin now.
Yeah, it's pretty
Like
thin. It's not a
sheet of
regular
paper kinda
paper.
size.
Yeah, it's a little bit thicker than that, and it's a little bit textured.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps to be able to have the LED lights inside of it. So, but it's seamless. You don't see anything. Our installers put it up, and it's smooth as can be, which is kind of the allure of it because you look at it and you think,
Well, wow.
how'd you get those lights in the
So
wall?
what are some examples of what are you doing with that?
People want that in their theater rooms. We've done it in a nightclub here in San Antonio. We've had a couple of people do it. They had like an end of a hallway and it was just kind of blank, nothing there. We put it there. So it can basically be put anywhere.
How long does something like that last? I would be worried about them going out.
Yeah, well, it lasts about 50,000 hours, which equates to about 6 years.
Okay.
So if you left it plugged in 24/7 for 6 years, that's the lifespan you'd get out of it, which no one leaves it plugged in 24/7.
Yeah.
So you've got a good 9-10 years of
Well,
use out of it.
The thing about wallpaper, I would imagine, is one of its appeals is that you can, you wouldn't want to change it out super often, but it is something that it's like paint. You can change it out when your style changes or you want to
can.
change the vibe of a room.
You can.
Is that a process?
Well, actually, when people come and purchase wallpaper, I always suggest get something that you love, not something that you like, something that you love. You have to have this in your space because, like you said, it is something that's not going to be changed out because that can get expensive, obviously,
Yeah.
depending on what you pick. But I always tell people, get something that you absolutely love. There's grass cloth, which is a particular type of wallpaper. It comes from bamboo, and it's then handmade and hand stained. So it's a natural product that goes on the wall. You've probably seen it and just don't realize that's what it's called. I have grass cloth in my house in 2 areas. And the good thing about that is that you can paint over it, because I actually painted mine.
Oh, wow.
So I had it up there for a while, got tired of looking at the color. It was quite the process, but I did end up painting it. So it's versatile in that respect. So if you don't want to keep the same thing up there, you do have some different options. And we can remove existing wallpaper, put up some more. But there's just so many different options that are out there. We've got hair on hide now wallpaper. There's some that have ostrich feathers on it. So some of these can be very expensive to very inexpensive. We've got a collection of our budget-friendly wallpapers, and they are priced at about $40 a single roll. And then we've got some that go all the way up to, they could be $900, $1,100 per panel. So it just depends on what you're looking for. And then, of course, everything in between.
So you do a lot of work in a commercial space, multifamily dwellings, things like that, right?
Yes.
Rental type properties and stuff like that. So what kind of wallpaper are you using in those areas?
So for those applications, we recommend our peel and stick. We don't actually install the peel and stick, but we do sell the peel and stick. It's perfect for renters. It's perfect for people who have an office space, but they can't actually float the wall and put the wallpaper up there because the landlord just doesn't allow for that. Peel and stick is a perfect option. It's also great for, I've had people come in if they're going to have a baby shower or a birthday, and they can put that on a backdrop and then decorate that and then use that as something for everyone to take pictures with. I had a lady come in and she bought a faux brick peel and stick, and she was having an event, and she cut it out in circles and put it on the floor and follow the red brick road, or whatever that was.
Great idea.
Yeah, so it's really versatile. Again, it's not recommended for long-term use, but it does have its place. And people who are renting apartments or renting homes, it's a perfect option.
So it sounds like you heard about like the original business owners in the original space as an interior designer. You ordered your probably higher end wallpaper from there. But with it being more trendy and renters, I see it all over TikTok. Renters are putting up peel and stick wallpaper because home ownership has gotten a little bit harder to reach for people, and more people are wanting to make their rental spaces their own spaces now. How are you guys getting the word out?
Well, we, of course, on social media, and a lot of it is word of mouth. People come in and they'll refer their friends. I know that there's an area up in New Braunfels, and that particular neighborhood has a get-together every month at someone else's house, a different house every month. And so some of them have wallpaper, and so they want we want to have some cool wallpaper too. So I've got a lot of traffic that way. And again, a lot of it is word of mouth. I've been doing interior design for 17 years. Like what Nef said, you've been in the industry for a long time. And so once you do that, although majority of that obviously was interior design, however, because we've already established our presence in interior affairs and people just know us. And so when I posted that we've expanded and opened a wallpaper showroom, we were just lucky, I guess, and blessed that we just got the business.
So let's talk about wanting to get rid of wallpaper. Do you guys remove it as well?
We do.
What kind of process is that? Is it pretty
hard? It depends. The good thing about wallpaper being up for a long time is that if it was installed properly, it is up there. So a lot of times you won't really have a lot of peeling unless it's the seams. And in Texas, the homes tend to shift because of our soil that we have here. So you may get some seams that kind of pop open. In fact, I just went out and did an estimate last week for a couple, and that's exactly what it was. It was intact in most of the area, but in the seams, it was kind of coming apart. So our installers, I'm not an installer, by the way, our installers will actually go out and they may have to cut the area only where it's coming apart. And then if they're going to put new wallpaper over it, well, then it's fine. We just need to smooth those areas. The rest of it can remain up there. There are a couple of exceptions there. For example, if you've got a really dark or bold colored pattern already on the wall and you're putting a lighter color, we may have to just remove the whole thing just because you don't want that old pattern showing through the new wallpaper. But if it's a thicker type 2 or commercial wallpaper, then it may actually cover it and we won't have to worry about that. So we take it on a case-by-case basis, but removal of it, yes, we can absolutely do.
Okay. And how long does it usually take for that to happen on an average job? Is it a day process or multi-day process?
It would probably be a day process, of course, depending on the size of the job.
Sure.
But if it's a residential project, then it would probably take them a day to remove it and then float the sections that need to be taken care of, and then the next day they'd come back after they let that dry. They'd come back and do the new installation.
Let's talk real quick about, because we're almost out of time, but your showroom. Where is it when they go there? What are they going to experience?
Our showroom is located on the southbound access road between Thousand Oaks and Randolph Boulevard. It's right where all the construction is all torn up, and there's only one entrance. So, but it is, the actual physical address is 10219 North Interstate 35. But again, it is on the southbound access road. When people walk in, we've got, of course, over 500 books so they can look through on our residential side, and then we've got tons and tons of tip cards or little pieces of, that's how they display the commercial. The Type 2 wall coverings are on what we call tip cards. So we've got, thousands of those to look through. We also carry acoustic wall coverings as well, like the panels that are here in the studio. Yeah. Exactly. That, there's also MDF. Of course, we talked about the LED. We've got textured wallpaper. I mean, anything you can think of for walls.
Is there someone that like you can walk in? Because I would be so overwhelmed by all that. Is there like a concierge who I'm like, this is the vibe I want, and they could direct me to?
Yes, that would be me.
Okay, that's you.
Yes, absolutely. And because of my interior design background, I'm able to help people, especially if they bring in photos of the space that they're trying to update, or if they've seen something on Facebook or somewhere that I want this wallpaper. If you bring it in, if I don't have it, I can find it for you.
What about having you come out to the space and actually see it?
We actually do that too. Our installers come out. We provide free estimates in San Antonio, and they'll come out, look at the space, and then you can either come in beforehand and we can measure exactly for your selection, or you can come afterwards and we can give you an estimate for that. So. Yeah.
And as I understand, you guys are expanding into the Austin area. Is that
correct? We're
correct?
looking to do that, yes.
Good.
We're not, it's not concrete yet, but we are definitely looking to expand. And just a point of clarification, there are other wallpaper showrooms here, but we're the only one that's open to the public.
Right.
So there are some other ones that you can go in with your own personal designer, but with ours, you don't need an appointment. You can just come in. We sell to everyone. And I am a designer, so I do understand that. Yes, it is helpful to be able to go with your designer. However, not everybody is doing that. Some people just want the wallpaper and either DIY or, my brother-in-law knows how to install it, or whatever the case may be. So we want to be able to service everybody.
Yeah,
so
DIY is becoming huge nowadays.
It is.
I mean, and some people enjoy it. You know, you got to give them access to.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's not as easy as it's
Nothing is,
shown
right?
on Instagram in 30 seconds. Woohoo! My whole room. No, so
it doesn't work that way. What?
I know. Yeah.
I thought everything on social media was true.
Right.
All right. So if folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Yes, they can call the showroom directly. Our number is 210-600-3475. We also have a website, which is interioraffairssa.com. And on social media, Interior Affairs LLC, and Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. And I imagine your Instagram is probably hopping, right? Because you take lots of beautiful pictures.
We do.
Of your stuff.
We do.
Love it.
We absolutely do.
All right. Well, that was a fast 30 minutes or so, right?
It did.
Fast. All right, as a wrap up the show, quick reminder to check out our podcast and video versions of it as well on our website at satalkradio.com. That's going to be it for us. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one. Good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having us.